In today's episode, we're going to talk about why you don't need to control everything, just this one thing. This episode includes subtitles so you can follow along more intentionally and absorb the ideas at your own pace. Why is it that so many of us feel overwhelmed, anxious, and completely drained? We were told that if we worked hard enough, planned carefully enough, and stayed vigilant enough, we could keep our lives on track. And yet, somewhere along the way, that promise of control turned into a prison. That vigilance became exhausting. And now, many of us who pride ourselves on being organized and prepared are struggling with constant worry. We can't relax, can't enjoy the present moment, and can't stop planning for every possible scenario. And worst of all, despite all our efforts, things still go wrong. We still face unexpected challenges, still get caught off guard, still feel that rising panic when life doesn't follow our carefully constructed plans. Because on the outside, everything looks managed. Our calendars are color-coded, our to-do lists are detailed, but inside, there's this constant tension, like we're always bracing for impact. And it turns out there's a reason for that. Many of us have built our entire sense of safety around controlling external circumstances. And when that happens, the very strategy that was supposed to protect us becomes the exact thing that keeps us trapped in anxiety. So let's talk about why this happens and, more importantly, how to break free from it. Because none of this is about failure. It's about a coping mechanism that stopped working. And if you understand how you got here, you can start to find a way out. When we're young, we quickly learn about control. As children, we discover that certain actions produce predictable results. Press a button, hear a sound, cry, and someone comes to help you. This cause and effect relationship helps us make sense of the world. It's comforting, it's structured, and for many of us, especially those who grew up in unpredictable environments, control becomes more than just a preference. It becomes a survival strategy. Maybe you grew up with chaos at home, or experienced a traumatic event, or simply had parents who rewarded planning and preparation above all else. Whatever the reason, you learned early on that controlling your environment meant safety. And for a while, this approach worked beautifully. Being organized helped you excel in school. Planning ahead helped you avoid disappointments. Anticipating problems helped you navigate challenges more smoothly than others. But here's the hidden cost. When you base your sense of security on controlling external circumstances, you set yourself up for a lifetime of anxiety. Because the truth, the uncomfortable truth that no one wants to face, is that most of life is fundamentally uncontrollable. Weather changes, people make unexpected decisions, economies fluctuate, bodies get sick despite our best efforts. No amount of planning can account for every variable. And this creates an impossible situation. Your brain has been wired to seek control for safety, but complete control is unattainable. So what happens? You double down. You work harder at controlling what you can. You create more detailed plans. You stay up later thinking through scenarios. You check and recheck. You micromanage. You avoid situations where outcomes feel uncertain. And slowly, your life starts to shrink. You stop taking risks because risks are unpredictable. You avoid new experiences because new experiences can't be properly planned for. You struggle to delegate because other people might not do things exactly as you would. Your relationships become strained because authentic connection requires letting go of control. And you find yourself exhausted, living in a narrow band of existence where everything feels familiar but nothing feels fulfilling. This is where the real suffering begins. Because control was supposed to bring you peace, but instead it's brought you limitation. It was supposed to make you feel safe, but instead it's made you feel constantly on edge. And now you're caught in a cycle. The more anxious you feel, the more you try to control, and the more you try to control, the more you realize how much remains beyond your grasp, which makes you even more anxious. So you push harder. You create systems and backup plans. You rehearse conversations before they happen. You prepare for every worst-case scenario. But underneath it all, there's this growing realization that no matter how hard you try, you cannot control everything. And this thought doesn't bring relief. It brings terror. Because if you can't control external circumstances, then how can you ever feel secure? This is the breaking point for many people, the moment when the illusion of control finally shatters. And it usually happens in one of two ways, either through a major life event that completely overwhelms your coping mechanisms, or through the slow, grinding exhaustion that comes from trying to manage the unmanageable year after year. Either way, you reach a point where the old strategy simply cannot continue. And this is where we find the real answer, the thing you actually need to control instead of everything else. Because the solution isn't about gaining more control over external circumstances. The solution is about shifting your focus to the one thing you can genuinely control, your response to what happens. Let me say that again, because this is the core insight that changes everything. You cannot control what happens, but you can control how you respond to what happens. You can control where you place your attention, how you interpret events, and what actions you take in response to circumstances. This sounds simple, but it represents a complete paradigm shift. Instead of pouring your energy into trying to arrange the perfect external conditions, you redirect that energy toward developing internal resources. Instead of asking, how can I prevent bad things from happening? You start asking, how can I strengthen my ability to handle whatever happens? And this is where true freedom begins. Because when your sense of security is no longer tied to controlling the uncontrollable, you can finally relax. You can engage with life as it is, not as you think it should be. You can take risks, knowing that even if things don't go as planned, you'll be able to navigate the outcome. You can connect authentically with others because you're no longer trying to script every interaction. So what does this look like in practice? It starts with awareness, noticing when you're slipping into control mode. Pay attention to the physical sensations that accompany your need for control. Maybe it's tension in your shoulders, or a tightness in your chest, or shallow breathing. These bodily signals are often your first clue that you're trying to manage the unmanageable. Once you notice what's happening, the next step is to pause. Just stop and take a breath. This tiny moment of space interrupts the automatic pattern and gives you a chance to choose a different response. Then, gently remind yourself of what you can and cannot control in this situation. What aspects are genuinely within your influence and what aspects are not? This simple assessment can prevent you from wasting energy on the impossible. The third step is to refocus your attention on your response. Ask yourself, given the reality of this situation, how do I want to show up? What values do I want to embody? What strengths can I bring to this challenge? By shifting your focus from controlling circumstances to choosing your response, you reclaim your agency in a much more powerful way. And finally, take action from this place of clarity. Not desperate action designed to force a particular outcome, but wise action aligned with your deepest values. This might mean setting a boundary, or expressing a need, or simply accepting what is. The specific action matters less than the consciousness behind it. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but if I stop trying to control everything, won't things fall apart? Won't I be vulnerable to all the dangers I've been working so hard to avoid? That's a natural concern. But consider this. Has your attempt to control everything actually protected you from pain and difficulty? Or has it simply added a layer of anxiety on top of the normal challenges of life? The truth is, difficult things will happen whether you try to control them or not. The difference is in how you experience those difficulties. When you're fixated on control, you experience both the difficult event and the suffering that comes from having your illusion of control shattered. But when you focus on your response, you experience the difficult event and the empowerment that comes from choosing how you meet it. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, and like any practice, it takes time and patience. There will be moments when you slip back into old patterns, moments when fear drives you to reach for control. That's okay. Notice it, accept it without judgment, and gently redirect your attention to what you can genuinely influence. And as you continue this practice, something remarkable begins to happen. The anxiety that drove your need for control starts to subside. The exhaustion of trying to manage everything begins to lift. You start to feel a new kind of security. Not the fragile security that depends on perfect circumstances, but the deep security that comes from knowing you can navigate whatever life brings. So if you're someone who feels constantly on edge, who can't relax until everything is perfect, who finds yourself planning for every contingency, this is where you begin. You let go of the impossible task of controlling external reality. You embrace the power of choosing your response. You trade the illusion of control for the reality of resilience, because you don't need to control everything to be safe. You just need to control this one thing, how you meet each moment as it arrives. And when you can do that, when you can stop clinging to the fantasy of a perfectly managed life and start engaging with the beautiful messiness of reality, you'll find something you might not have felt in a long time: peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because you no longer need it to be. If any part of this resonated with you, if you recognized yourself in these patterns or felt something click that you haven't quite been able to put into words before, leave a comment and let me know what stood out. Chances are you're not the only one who feels this way, And sometimes naming the pattern is the first real step to breaking it. Thanks for watching PsychWiser. Take care of your mind, and I'll see you in the next episode.